Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to the channel. Been working on the truck kind of off and on most of the day, just taking care of little odds and ends from different stuff. Like I moved this little amp bus fuse from the top of the fuse panel box lid to over there, because I'm thinking of mounting my anteater box right there. Just little odds and ends I've been taking care of to try and figure things out. One thing real quick, if anybody knows this ground strap right here, I'm pretty certain it has to go to the engine someplace, because to start it before I had it on the engine right here, but it has a said location, and I thought by the way the back of that looks it went over to the PCM and grounded, but that does not make sense because it would come from the firewall and go back to the firewall, so that's not the case. So yeah, can't remember where this one goes. And I did look back at some of my videos to try and figure it out. So anyway, took care of the wiring issues or harness down below for the neutral safety switch, reverse lights, and the four-wheel drive indicator. Got those taken care of. On the neutral safety switch, since we're not going to have one, I just took and bent it over, put just a little bit of heat shrink on there, and stuffed it inside the wire loom and called it a day. I explored the idea of trying to add the neutral safety switch, but since the truck's a factory 6-speed, the PCM, it doesn't have anything in there as far as telling it what to do to even bring a wire up and put it in the COM2 pin, whatever, I think 32 or whatever it is, because I did look it up as far as I point back here because the book's inside there. It tells where all that stuff is inside the transmission book that I had for rebuilding a transmission. So that's another thing that's kind of cool about that. So anyway, we're just going to leave that alone. I'm not sure how the circuit works as far as that's just a ground, what it is. So we're just going to leave it alone. We're not going to do anything, and we're just, like I said, I've got it folded up. It's taken care of. It's out of the way. Now we move on to the four-wheel drive indicator. I did buy a new button, as you guys saw. Not thinking about that button, those work in two different ways, whether it's an open circuit or a closed circuit. So yeah, I should have looked at mine, how it worked, before I bought that one. Anyway, when I bought that one, the plug was different, so the guys at O'Reilly helped me out with trying to find a new plug for it. They got me the wiring harness, the part number that I needed. They wanted like $52, $48, I think it's 52 bucks with tax. That was way too much to spend for this little piece right here. So what I did is I come home, of course went on Amazon and found it for $24, I believe. So yeah, that was great. So what I want to show you is what I did to utilize the factory wiring that was there and then just use the plug itself. All right, we're going to pretend that this is the wiring harness on the truck, because this is the actual plug that was on the truck itself. And then this is the plug that came in my box. So everything's wired up just like that. There is tools that you can buy. These are two of them that I have right here for doing different things. The way these work is you take these, put them on there, and that pulls right out of there. Same thing on the other side. That allows you to take these plugs apart. The way these work is these little barbs right here. If you can see the little barbs, that as you push those in there, those lock into place. So therefore what I did was I just took this one, my new plug, put them right in place. Snapped it closed, and I was able to use my factory wiring in the new plug on the new button. So that's just one of the things that some of you guys may know this, some of you may not. Everything is pretty much the same. As I was looking at it, I knew these were the male pins. On the button on the transfer case I put in was the female pins. So I knew that I could take all this stuff apart, utilize just the plastic plug itself, and not have to cut or splice any of my wires. Alright, this is what I've come up with for my TV cable adjustment. According to Firepunk, according to the Anteater instructions, you want to take and put your TV cable arm at about 80%. So we're gonna do it. This is the first time I've ever had to deal with this, so yeah, this is the way that it's gonna be. You can buy this whole setup right here from Firepunk. It's about 50 bucks. I went ahead and decided to make my own. As you guys know, I picked these little Heim joints up from a cylinder, like from a hood or a trunk or something like that, out of the metal bin, and figured out what thread it was, got the all thread that I needed, and I made up my own. This used to have just a little bit of a bend in it. I went ahead and straightened that out just to give it just a little bit more room, and this is what I have come up with. I'm going to make just a little bracket for the back side of the transmission, and I'll be able to adjust this. I'll be able to pull this like this however I need to, just by adjusting that nut. And then, like I said, the nut on this side will be a nylon nut that I picked up. So just a little ingenuity, a little bit of thinking, I come up with myself, and the only thing that I have invested is $8. And I think these are like $1.59 a piece for these little packages. So 50 bucks versus just under $10. Yeah, I'm gonna go my way. So I'll have to get this made up. I make a little bracket here and get that bolted in place. Drill another hole for this to go through, and that should be good there. All right, with that being said, you guys know how I said I was having some issue with the 4-wheel drive indicator on the dash itself. Well, those buttons will work in two different ways. They'll work as far as when the little lever inside of there hits that button and pushes it down, it closes the circuit, or in its natural state, it closes the circuit. So let me show you what I got going on here. So put the key in, turn it on. So as you can see, everything off, got the brake on, got to wait to start, which is fine. It's cycling the grid heater. It's showing 4-wheel drive, but if you look down, it's not in 4-wheel drive. We pull back, it's actually in 2-wheel drive. Pull back for 4-wheel drive, and the indicator light goes off. This button works opposite of what I thought it was going to, so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board and try and find a different button. We need one that closes when the button is depressed, I think. I'm gonna have to little things like this is just what you're gonna have to deal with when you're doing what I'm doing. I mean, I'm taking and doing something that it wasn't designed for, and yeah, it's become quite a chore. So such is life. I mean, it'll be all right. We'll figure it out. But yeah, it's just little things like this. It gets tedious and kind of time consuming. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have to function that way for me to start the truck and start running it, but I want things to work the way they're supposed to. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my attention back to the all thread bracket for the TV cable. I went under there and I marked it. We got a bolt kind of in the way for the tail section, so I need to cut back just a little bit and then go up, and I should be able to slide that in there, go back under there, and mark it for the hole to drill in there, and then also mark it for as far as length. I don't want it to get in the way of the 4-wheel drive linkage, and we'll just need to keep it tucked back in to the transmission as tight as we can. Alright, with that, I'm going to take it back under the truck. I'm going to mark for the hole to drill it to mount it to that ear on the transmission, and then also mark it for length. Alright, this is what I was talking about here. Here's my all thread. Now obviously I'm going to cut that off. We're not going to leave it full length. But I don't want it to get in the way of my 4-wheel drive linkage. This is the ear here that we're going to put the bracket on. You can see there's a tail shaft bolt kind of right in the way, so that's what I had to notch out for. All right, that's where that's going to sit there on the bracket itself. I'm going to come. This is where the edge of the bracket is, so we'll just go right here in the center. We'll go ahead and put a 5/16 hole in there, and that should be good. And this bracket will be, hopefully for the most part, done. Should, before I do that, go under there and test that, make sure this is going to work the way I'm expecting it to. Make sure the hole is lined up. I think it should be, the size of this hole and the size of the hole that's in that ear that comes off the side of the tail shaft. All right, after confirming that everything will line up and be just fine, I'll go ahead and drill that hole just to a 5/16. Actually, I'll probably go a 21/64. I always like to go just a little bit bigger. And we'll cut this off, give it just a little bit of shape. Clean it up and give it a paint job. All right, with that hole drilled in there, we're going to give it just a little bit of shape. We'll come off of here, kind of carry the same width from here to here as here to here. So I'm just going to eyeball it. My son hates it when I do this, but it's just what I do. All right, we'll go ahead and cut that off of there. Then that'll be that bracket for the TV cable. All right, we'll take it under there and test fit it in the truck. All right, that should slide right in here like this. So with that like that, we can put the TV cable at 100% rest because we're going to be pulling it back this way. So right there at rest, we'll go ahead and mark it right there so we know where to cut it off at. We can probably pull it back just a little bit. Because it really doesn't catch until it gets about right there. So I don't know if it's 80% from here to here or from here to here, because it doesn't catch on to the spring until I get about right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it for cutoff. That should work for the TV cable. What I got going on with the shifter bracket is I'm going to make a new bracket just like this one, about an inch or so longer than what this one is, and then that should take care of my shifter bracket from inside the truck for the cable. So right now the TV cable adjustable bracket basically is done. That should work out pretty good. I'll mark this for this all thread cutoff, and life should be good. All right, pulled that out of the truck just so you can kind of get a good idea. I know you could see it up in the truck there, but this is the little ball that was on there that the original TV cable hooks to. I just ground the end of it off. I knocked it out of there, drilled a 21/64 hole for a 5/16 bolt. Comes up through the heim joint to this bracket I made just for that ear that's on the tail housing or extension housing. I'll cut the piece of all thread off there. I'll use a nylon nut on it, and then probably put a jam nut on the back wherever I so choose to have it, just so everything stays good and tight. So that is made. So just need to get this cleaned up, get some paint on it, and it'll be ready to go in the truck. Also got to cut this off and clean the ends up so we can get a nut started back on there. All right, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for tonight. It is dark out, as you can see through the window behind me there. So I think I'm gonna go in the house, put a little bit of paint on that bracket, and pretty much call it a night. So guys, if you don't mind, hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already done so, and we'll see you guys in the next one.